Hi and welcome to this on maths prediction for the AQA Paper 3 Foundation Tier Maths GCSE for November 2020. Enjoy! Hi and welcome to this on maths prediction for the last paper. So, been a very long journey so far, going through the first two papers, and this is the final one. So you know the drill by now. You can click this link here and it will take you straight through to onmaths.com where you can try this paper online for free. As you know, every time you do it, it gives you a brand new paper with brand new numbers. So you're not just learning answers. In fact, there's some questions that are almost new questions each time. So it's really good for making sure that you get a grade at the start of really hard work, do your really hard work, do all your revision, and then you can do basically the same paper at the end to see how much you've improved. So it's a really useful tool. And as I say with all our predictions, make sure you do the work. Yes, these are based on historical data from this exam board. Yes, these are pretty accurate, but they're not going to be 100% accurate. So make sure you do the work, whether you go to onmaths.com to revise or mathseffect.co.uk to revise. Wherever you go, make sure you do the work first. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy it and thank you very much. Okay, it's really important to realise the properties of all of the quadrilaterals. And we're given a piece of information here, which is one pair of opposite sides are parallel. So if I just draw that out, and I can just draw any set of parallel lines. Now it says one set of parallels, so I've got to make sure none other lines are parallel. There we go. And we know that looking at it now, is definitely a trapezium. And that's the only definition of a trapezium, is one pair of opposite sides are parallel, and obviously it's got four sides because it's quadrilateral. So for this question we're asked to find the percentage of the shape that's shaded. So there are 4 sections in total and 2 of them are shaded. So as a fraction that would be 2 over 4. Well, we can halve top and bottom, so it's a half. And you can see there that half of that's shaded. So what is half as a percentage? Well, a whole as a percentage is 100%. So a half as a percentage is 50%. And if you didn't know that, you need to just practice knowing the main percentages. A tenth is 10%, a hundredth is 1%, and a quarter is 25%. Okay, the next question says what fraction is shaded. So we need to know 2 things. First of all, how many squares are shaded. So 1, 2, 3. So it'd be 3 over the total amount of squares. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares. So the fraction is 3 over 8. For the next question, it says shade in a fifth of this shape. Well, there's 10 squares altogether, and we want to shade a fifth. So we need to find a fifth of 10. In other words, what's a fifth times 10? When you times something by a fraction, just divide it by the bottom of the fraction. So another way of writing that is 10 divided by 5, which is 2. A different way of thinking about this question is if you cut this shape up into 5 equal sections, those sections, the green sections, become a fifth. So if we want to shade 1/5, we just want to shade in one of those sections. And actually that's the amount of squares that our calculation just worked out. So it should be 2 squares. Now it doesn't have to be the 2 squares that I've shaded. As long as you've shaded in 2 squares, then you've answered the question. And the last question says write down the fractions there that are equivalent to a quarter. Well, a nice easy way of starting this question off is just write down things that are equivalent to a quarter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to times top and bottom of this fraction by 2. So 2 over 8. So I've times them by 2. Then I'm going to times them by 3. So it would be 3 over 12. Then I'm going to times them both by 4, and I'm just looking at this original fraction here. I'm going to times them both by 4, so it would be 4 over 16, and times them both by 5, 5 over 20. Now all those fractions are equivalent, which means the same as a quarter. So let's have a look at our list. Well, we've got 2 over 8 there, so it's that one, and we've got 5 over 20 there. So my answer is going to be fraction B and fraction C.
So it asks for an even cube number. So the cube numbers are 1 cubed is 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. The problem is that is an odd number, so let's try 2 cubed. Now 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So 8 is an even cube number. Now you could have also had 64, which is 4 cubed. 6 cubed is above 100, so that would not count. So 8 or 64 are the correct answers.
Alright, so the first place to start on this is to plot the points. So point A is at -3, -2. So along the corridor and up the stairs, well, we're going across -3 on the x-axis, which is this one here, and then we're going to go down 2 on the y-axis. So it's this one here. A really common mistake is to muddle them up. So as long as you remember you're going across and then up or down, obviously if it's negative you go down, then you should be fine. Now it says point A, so I probably should label that as A. And point B is 0, 3. It means we're not going left or right at all. We're just going to stay at 0, but we could go up 3. So it's going to be there. And point C is at 3 minus 2. So along 3, down 2. Which could be that one there. So that's point C. And it says plot and join these coordinates. So I'm just going to get my ruler and plot and join them. Well, we've plotted them, so we're just going to join them. And there we go, makes a nice little shape there. Now question B says what type of triangle is ABC? So looking at it, it looks like this length here and this length here are exactly the same length. So when we've got a triangle with two sides the same length, it's an isosceles triangle. And try and learn the spelling of isosceles, because it does look better when you spell it right. I remember it's ISOSCELES. The SOS is like a Morse code thing to get help, save our souls. So I've always remembered SOS, as in, oh my goodness, I don't know how to spell isosceles. Okay, so when simplifying, it's really important to understand what like terms are. This is an x term, and this is also an x term. This is a y term, and this is a y term. So we're going to add the x terms first. So 13x plus 7x is 20x. And then we're going to add the y terms. So 3y plus 2y is 5y. Now it can be tempting to try and add these together, but these are unlike terms. They're not like terms, so we can't add them together. You can multiply them. So if we times them together, it would be 100xy. But when we add them, we can't add them. That is our answer. And the place I'd start with this question, since we're going to be asked for the median anyway, is just to put these in order of sides, and that will help us work out the mode and range. You don't have to do it, it's much easier to spot. So the smallest number's 38. Is there another 38? No. The next number's 39. I think there's a few 39s. Okay, the next number's 41. I'm crossing them out as I go so I don't count them twice accidentally. So 42, 43, 44. Now the mode means most. Okay, if you just remember that, mode most, it's pretty much the same word. So what came up the most? Well, if you have a look, there are 3 39s there, and there's 2 42s, 2 41s. So 39 came up the most. And it's much easier to spot when they're all lined up. The range is the biggest, take away smallest. And again, this is a lot easier when they're all lined up. So it's 44, which is the biggest, take away the smallest, which is 38. Now, I know that you can do this in your head, but use your calculator anyway. Why not? Because this is a calculator question, but we know the answer is going to be 6. Okay, so the median. Now the median is the one that you've got to find the middle one, so it's the middle when in order. And I put that in capitals because most people forget that one who get this question wrong. You have to put them in order of size first, okay? And what you do is you cross out one from both sides, then another one from both sides, then another one from both sides, then another, until you're left with 1 or 2 in the middle. Now if you're left with 2 in the middle, then you add them together and halve it. Or find the number that's halfway between the two. Now if they're both 41, the median will be 41. If you think about it, 41 times 2 is 82, and then halve it, it's going to be 41. Now the mean is, a lot of people call it the mean one. You add them all together and divide it by how many? So I'm going to do this on my calculator. I'm going to do 38 plus 39 plus 39 plus 39 plus 41 plus 41 plus 42 plus 42 plus 43 plus 44. Hopefully I've got the right answer of 408. Over how many there are? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I need to divide that by 10, and I get 40.8 for the mean. Now, I would always double check that, so I'm going to do it again on my calculator, because when you're typing a whole load of numbers, it's always easy to make a mistake, but it's very rare to make the same mistake twice, and it's come up with 408 again, so I know it's probably right. Okay, so we're asked to round to 3 significant figures. So what I'd try and do first is write the number down. Now, with significant figures, we start counting at the start of the number. We don't start counting at the decimal point. So I'm going to start counting here. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to draw a line down. Now, all the numbers to the right of that line are going to reset to 0. But before they do, we need to look at this number, and this is called our decider number. If that number that I've circled in blue is 5 or more, it means the 7 goes up to 8. If it's less than 5, the 7 stays the same. Now because it is 5, that 7 will go to an 8. Now be careful here, the numbers to the right don't disappear, and some students, when they've done decimal places, they think they just go away. With significant figures, you have to remember that they turn to 0. Now they do the same with decimal places, it's just because they're after the decimal point, we don't need them anymore. But these 3 zeros here are what we call placeholders. So, for instance, if you're asked to estimate the size of a crowd, and there was 207,518 people, you wouldn't say that that was roughly 208 people. You would say that's roughly 208,000 people. Alright, so we're asked to find 8.9% of 457. So first of all, I'm just going to convert 8.9% into a decimal. So this is it as a percentage, and as a decimal, I'm just going to divide it by 100, and you always do that to percentages to find decimals. So 8.9 divided by 100, and that gives me 0.089. And all I need to do is get my quantity and times it by that decimal. So I'm going to times that by 457 equals, and it says 40.673, and it wants it to 2 decimal places, so that's going to be 40.67. It's important that we're comfortable with converting between ratios and fractions. So having a look at this question, there's red on the first one is 8, and blue is 17. So for every 8 red, there are 17 blue. And it's asked us for the fraction that are blue. So there are 17 blue. So 17 goes at the top of the fraction. But how many are there all together? And so it's tempting to put 17 over 8, but it's all together. The bottom of a fraction is the total. So we need to do 8 plus 17, which is 25. So the fraction is going to be 17 over 25. Okay, the next one asks us to work the other way. So we've got green to black counters, and there's that fraction that are black. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. I could write down them as fractions actually, so why don't I try that? So we know that there are 4/7 that are black, and we know that there are only green and black, so there must be 3/7 that are green, because it has to add up to 7 over 7, which is 1. So looking at that, what we can do to both sides, and I can put little lines down here, I can times both sides by 7 to simplify the fraction, to simplify the ratio even. So when I times the left by 7, I get 3, and when I times the right by 7, I get 4. So the ratio of green to black, and be careful that you have it in the same order, so we needed to have green then black, is 3 to 4. And make sure that it's in simplest form, which it is. Okay, so we're asked to find the length marked x. So it's a trapezium, so it has one pair of parallel sides. And to work out what the area is, we add together both the bases, which are the two parallel sides. We halve it, and then we times that by the height. Now the height is the thing that connects both the bases at right angles. So I'm going to write all that down. So we're going to do half of x plus 1.7. I'm going to times it by the height, which is 2.7. Now give us the area. Now we're told what the area is. It says the area is 4.05. So this becomes a solving question. So I'm going to put my lines down on the equals. Now on the left hand side, let's have a think what I can do. Well, I can expand that bracket. So it becomes half x plus, and I can use my calculator here, I'll probably do it in my head, 0.85, and we're going to times that by 2.7. So we're going to expand it again by timesing both of them by 2.7, so 0.5 times 2.7 is 1.35 x plus 0.85 times 2.7, which is 2.295. We should put the equals in here, because I've not done anything to the right hand side yet. So I'm going to take away the 2.295 from both sides to get the x on its own. So 4.05, take away 2.295, and it gives me 1.755. Let's extend my lines a little bit. And we divide by the 1.35 to get x on its own. So divide by 1.35, and it gives me the answer of 1.3. Now there's different ways of doing that. I could have divided both sides by 2.7 and then times both sides by 2 at the start, and that would have also worked, and then taken away the 1.7. Probably would have been easier, but I thought this might have been easier to show, but it's up to you, as long as you get the answer 1.3. Now I can check that, so I'm going to do 0.5 times brackets 1.3 plus 1.7, close brackets times 2.7, and it gives me the answer of 4.05, so I know it's correct. Okay, so there are quite a few different ways of doing this question. One way I'm going to show you now, the fact that £1 equals, not very good at drawing euros, 2.23 euros, and we need to get it equal to 2,676. And so we've got to work out how do you get from here to here. Now the way of doing that is 2676 divided by 2.23, and all on the calculator. So we know we've got to times that by 1200, which is what the calculator told me when I did 2676 divided by 2.23. Now I can check that by typing 2.23 times 1200, and it gives me 2676. So if that works that side, it has to be able to work this side as well. So I'm going to times this side by 1200, which is quite obvious. 1 times 1200 is going to be 1200, and that's going to be my answer, 1200. Now there's different ways of doing it, different ways of thinking about it. What you can think about is to get from pounds to euros, we times by 2.23. So therefore, to go the other way, we're going to divide by 2.23. And so you just do 2676 divided by 2.23. There's loads of different other ways of doing it. You can do it with ratios as well. Okay, so we're asked to find the midpoint, which is just kind of the halfway point, and we're given 2 coordinates at the start and end of the line segment. And a really easy way of doing this is you're just finding out the average of the x coordinates and the average of the y coordinates. So to find an average, we're going to do the x coordinates first. You add together the 2 coordinates, the 2 x coordinates, and divide by 2, because there's 2 numbers. So 2 plus minus 1, well 2 take away 1, because the minus will win against plus and a minus. So 2 take away 1 is 1, and divide by 2 is just going to be 0.5, or just a half. The y's, so here we've got minus 5 plus 2 over 2. Minus 5 plus 2 is minus 3 over 2, which is going to be minus 1.5. So the coordinates are 0.5 minus 1.5. And if you think about it, half is halfway between 2 and minus 1, so that makes sense. And minus 1.5 is halfway between minus 5 and 2. Okay, so we're asked to find the volume of a cylinder. Now, a cylinder is just a circular base prism, and all prisms you work out the area of the cross section, which is this circle at the top, and then times it by the length. Okay, so we're going to work out to work out the volume, we go do pi r squared and then times it by the length. So the radius of that circle is 11, so pi times 11 squared, and the length in this case it's a height, but it's going to be 20. So I'm going to get my calculator, and pi times 11 squared times 20, it's telling me it's 7,602.654 22 blah blah blah. So to 2 decimal places, that's going to be 7,602.65. So this question says there's a tennis tournament being played where each player plays each other once. And there's multiple ways of doing this. One of the ways is listing out all the different combinations, but this question only asks for how many tennis matches are being played. So you don't need to list them out, and sometimes you will need to list them out. This one you don't. So let's start off with a liar. A liar has 4 people that they're going to play against. William, Paul, Samantha and Christine. William, well, we've already counted a liar's match with William, so William only has 3 left that he can play. Then Paul we've already counted his match with the other 2, so he's only going to play Samantha and Christine, other than his matches we've already counted. Samantha's only got Christine left to play after we counted all the other matches. And Christine's matches have already been counted so far. So we've got the 4 matches a liar's going to play, 3 matches that William's going to play, not counting the one we've already counted from a liar, plus the 2 Paul's going to play, plus the other one that Samantha's going to play. So 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So in total there are 10 different matches going to be played. Okay, so we're asked to find the length of the line AB, and the way of doing this is you work out how far across you go and how far up you go, and by doing that you create a right angle triangle. So we go 2 across here, 2 jumps across, and if you don't know that that was 2, let's just do a different method. So to get this other one, 1, 2, 3 jumps up, or you just know that it goes up to 4, down to 1, 4 take away 1 is 3. So it's a right angle triangle with sides 2 and 3, and we're looking for the third one. Now, the one opposite the right angle is going to be labelled as C. These two, it doesn't matter, I'm going to call that A and that B. We use Pythagoras' formula. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And A is 2, so 2 squared plus 3 squared, because B is 3, equals C squared. Let's put our lines in. So it's going to be 4 plus 9 equals C squared. 13 equals C squared. Square root both sides. And let's get my calculator. So square root of 13 is 3.6055 blah 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 equals C. So it's 2 decimal places, it's 3.61. Now be careful, sometimes it will say that it's done on centimetre square grid, so you might have a units attached. If you want to put units but it doesn't say any, you can just write 3.61 units. Okay, there's more than one way to expand and simplify a single bracket. You're essentially doing the same thing, but some of you might want to draw grids or do it in a different way. I always just use smiles and rainbows, so I just create a smile between the 2 and the 3x, and a rainbow between the 2 and the 6, and I put a little time sign there to remind me to times it. Just put a notch through the bracket. That means we're going to times 2 and 3x, and 2 times 3 is 6. And then we've got the x there, and 2 times 6 we're going to times together to make 12. Now we've still got the 4x, so I still need to write that down. Then I'm going to collect like terms. Now the like terms we have is the 6x and the plus 4x. So 6x plus 4x is 10x, and then there's nothing that we can do with the 12, so we just leave that. So it's 10x plus 12. Okay, the next one, there's a double smiles and rainbows. We've got one here, put a little time sign there, and we've got one here. So we'll do the first one first. So 8 times 6x, so we do 8 times 6, which is 48, and then we've got the x. Then we do 8 times positive 2, which is 16, so plus 16. Now that's nice and easy. However, the next one's slightly different. The number outside the brackets is not a 3, it's a minus 3. So when we do minus 3 times positive 4x, we're going to get a negative, because a minus times a positive is a negative. Then we do 3 times 4, which is 12, and then we've got the x as well. Now the rainbow is minus 3 times minus 5. 2 minuses times together is a plus. 3 times 5 is 15. Then we look for like terms, so we've got the 48x and the minus 12x, and we've got the plus 16 and the plus 15. So we want to do 48 take away 12, or 48x take away 12x. So if we take away 2 it's 6, if we take away 10 it's 36x. Then we want to do 16 plus 15. Well, 15 plus 15 is 30, so that's going to be 31. So the answer is going to be 36x plus 31. Now the most common mistakes are for that n bit there, this bit here. Sometimes students will write down negative 15. For these types of questions, always make sure that you show your working, show how you know something is something. So the way I would start this, and this is not the only correct answer, is I realise that these two are the same. So I know that 2y minus 50 equals 52. The reason I know that is that they are corresponding angles. Now, some of you might know that as F angles, but make sure you write the word corresponding because they won't accept any other word. So I can solve this by first of all adding 50 to both sides. So that's 2y equals 102, and then I'm going to halve both sides. So y equals 51. So I know y is 51, so I now know that this angle here is 51 degrees. Now I know that this is 52 degrees because if you look at this, I'll use a different colour, this angle here and this angle here are Z angles or alternate angles, or you can say that this 52 degrees here is equal to this here, which is also 52, because they're vertically opposite angles. So I know that this one here, and I could call it a letter on the diagram, so I could say C. I don't think there's another C, so C equals 52, and show the examiner, right, that's because, well, let's go for alternate angles with the original value. Okay, so we've got three sides, or three angles in a triangle. I've got way too many colours going on here. So to work out x, so x equals, it's going to be 180 minus 51 plus 52. So work out what 51 plus 52 is, and then take away from 180. And the reason is angles in triangle. Okay, so I know that 51 plus 52 is going to be 103. Therefore, that's going to be 77 degrees. So my answer is 77 degrees. With best value questions, which this is one of, there's normally multiple ways of doing it. Either you get the price per item, or you get how much of the item you get for 1 pence, or you get them to so that they're the same amount of items and then you compare the prices. Now this one asks for the price per tissue, so that's the way we've got to answer this question. So we're going to have tissues on the left hand side and price, and I'm going to do it in pence because it's normally a lot easier to work out when it's in pence. I'm just going to draw a line down the side. So we're going to start off with the box of 24, and it costs 802 pence. Now to get one tissue, I'm going to divide both sides by 24. So if I divide both sides by 24, I get one tissue. So I do 802 divided by 24, and I get 33.416 recurring. Okay, let's try the next one. So that's one done. In fact, if I draw a line, then I can show that I've done that. Okay, so the next one is 20 tissues, and that costs 689 pence. So this time I'm going to divide both sides by 20, so I know how much one tissue costs. So 689 divided by 20 on the calculator, and I get 34.45 pence. Okay, and the last one, let's draw our line. So the last one's 15 tissues, and it costs 538 pence. So this time I'm going to divide both sides by 15 to work out one tissue. Okay, so 538 divided by 15, and this time I get 35.86 recurring. Okay, so first of all, let's get the price in. So it says rounded to 2 decimal places. Okay, so this first one is 33.42, because that one moves up. The 20 tissue box is 34.45, and the last one is 35.87, because that 6 would round up. So which one is the best value? Well, if you have a look at the 24 tissue box, it's only costing 33 pence, just over 33 pence, whilst the 20 tissue box costs over 34 pence, and the 15 tissue box costs over 35 pence. Well, which one would you rather buy? Well, I'd rather buy the one that the tissues costs the least. So the best value is the 24 soft tissues. Now in your answer, make sure that you write exactly the same as in the question so that it's absolutely clear which one that you think is the best value. Now if you worked the other way, if the question didn't specify how to do it and you were working out the amount of tissues you get per penny, then obviously it works the other way. You want the biggest number because you want the maximum amount of tissues per penny. So just be a little bit careful of that. Okay, this question doesn't seem like it gives us very much information, but actually it gives us all we need. We need to know it's a regular polygon, which it says it is. We've got the interior angle of 170. So if I imagine I've got my polygon here, and this is a part of the polygon. Obviously the polygon continues up here and across there. And we know that the exterior angle, so this one here, would be useful. The interior angle here is 170 degrees. So to get the exterior angle, all we do is 180 take away 170, which is 10 degrees. And that's for the exterior angle. So if the exterior angle is 10 degrees, we know all exterior angles add up to 360. So we do 360 divided by 10, because each one is 10 degrees. And I don't need my calculator for that. I know that that's just going to be 36. So there's going to be 36 sides of that. So if you're given an interior angle on a regular polygon, just take it away from 180 degrees to find the exterior angle, and then do 360 divided by the exterior angle to find how many sides the polygon has. Okay, so we have a set of simultaneous equations, and I'm just going to start off by just writing them out to give myself a bit more room, because it's a little bit too small otherwise. So I'm just copying out the question. Now, there's a list of things we need to do for these, and there are different methods. I'm just going to go through the main one. The first thing is I need to get either the x's or the y's the same coefficient. So the number before them needs to be the same, ignoring signs. Now looking at this, and I'm going to label these A and B. Looking at this, if I double A, then the x's would become the same because they both have a coefficient of 4. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to write 2A. So I'm going to double everything in A. So double the 2x to make 4x to make the x's the same. Double the 5 before the y, so that's 10y now. And double the 24 to make 48. Now, next, I need to probably, and it's normally the case that if I write down B again, it just makes things easier. So I'm just going to literally copy down B underneath. Okay, so next I'm going to remind myself that I'm working downwards now. So I just put little circles around these to remind me I'm going downwards. And I need to look at the sign before the letter that I've made the same coefficient. So I'm looking at the x's and I'm looking at the signs before them. If the signs are the same, we are going to subtract. If the signs are different, we're going to add. And it's that simple. Okay. Now the signs are the same because they're both positive, so we are going to be subtracting. So a minus there, a minus there, and a minus there. Okay, let's start. 4x take away 4x is nothing, which is good because it needs to be nothing. 10y minus 3y. Now 2 minuses make a plus, so that's 10y plus 3y, which would be 13y. And we've got 48 plus, because the 2 minuses make a plus 4, which is going to be 52. I'm going to put my lines in. Okay, next I need to do 52 divided by 13. And we're going to do both of these divided by 13. So we've got y equals, I think it's 4. So 4 times 13 is 52. So yeah, y equals 4. Then I'm going to pick one of the equations from the question and I'm going to substitute the 4 in. I'm just going to pick the top one. So 2x plus 5 times 4, because we know that y is 4, equals 24. And again, put my lines in. So it's 2x plus 20 equals 24. Take away 20 from both sides. 2x equals 4. Divide both sides by 2. Extend my lines a little bit. And x equals 2. Now if you've got time in the exam, you can check that that's right by using the second equation. So 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12, and 8 take away 12 is minus 4, so we know it's correct. So x is 2 and y is 4. Okay, so question A is about reverse percentages. So in 2014 and 2015, well, let's have a look. So the sales went down between the two. So if we start off with 100%, and they went down 12%, what we're left with? Well, we're left with 88%. Now, as a multiplier, and this is the best way of doing this, 88% divided by 100, make it a decimal, is 0.88. Now that number, 0.88, is what we times the 2014 sales to get 2015. But in this question, we're given the 2015 sales, so we're given this one here. So we want to work backwards. So what we want to do is I'll get my calculator, 7,359 divided by 0.88, and that gives me £8,362.50. You've got to ask yourself, well, is that reasonable? Well, they went down by 12%, so it's natural that they would go from a number around just over 8,000 to a number that's just over 7,000. So I'm going to write the answer, £8,362.50. Okay, the next question says that the sales went up in 2016, or they have a target to get their sales up in 2016. What's the percentage increase? Now, percentage increase or percentage decrease, it's the same formula, is change over original times 100. So the change, well, that's going to be 12272, take away the 2015 sales, so that's that one there, 7359. So they're looking for it to change by 4,913. The original was at 7,359, and we need to times by 100. So I'm going to divide that by 7359, times it by 100. And that gives me 66.7617, blah, blah, blah. So that's to the nearest percent, so that's going to be 67%. Okay, so I'm asked to complete the Venn diagram, and the E at the top I like to think stands for everything. So all of those numbers need to fit somewhere in this Venn diagram. And we're going to put the square numbers on the left and the odd numbers on the right. Now, there's different methods of doing this. What I like to do with this type of question is just do it one at a time. So we're going to start off with the 16. Now, 16 is a square number, but it's not odd. So I'm going to leave that here. 75. Now, 75 is not a square number, but it is odd. So I'm going to put that there. Now 1 is a square number and it's odd, so that's going to go in the middle. 4 is a square number but it's not odd. 28. Now 28 is not a square number and it's not odd, so that's going to go out here. 9 is a square number and it's odd, so that's going to go there. 93 is not a square number but it is odd. And 2 is not a square number or odd. That's going to go on the outside here. And I like to just add them up, find out how many numbers we've got in our Venn diagram. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And find out how many numbers we should have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we haven't missed any, because it's quite easy with this type of question to miss a number out. Whenever we see a 3D shape in a question, you've got to ask yourself, is the question asking for a volume or a surface area? And that should be the first question that goes into your mind. Yes, it might be asking for something else, but those are the main two. We're looking at this, we're filling the swimming pool with water, so it's going to be a volume question. Now, way of approaching this is figure out what the shape is. Well, the shape is a trapezium-based prism. So we've got to first of all work out what the area of the trapezium is. So I'm going to draw the trapezium out first. And that height is going to be 2.7 that side, 5.3 that side, and 25 across. And I'll leave off meters because I know they're all in meters. But do check they are all in meters when you do this. So we've got to first of all work out the area. Now the area of a trapezium is half A plus B H. Now A and B are always the two parallel sides, and then the height is the one that connects them at right angles. So the height is going to be 25 there. And all you're doing is working out the average of the two bases, the 2.7 and the 5.3. We're going to times that by 25. Okay, so we'll crack our calculator out. 2.7. Some of you will probably see this straight away. So the first bit comes out as 4, because halfway between 2.7 and 5.3 is 4, and then times 25 is going to be 100. So the area is 100 meters squared. Now, for a prism, so volume, all you need to do is work out the area of the cross section, which is this bit here, the bit we just worked out, and then times it by how 3D it is. I think they call that the length officially, 15 meters. So the volume is going to be 100 meters squared times 15, which is going to be 1,500 meters cubed. So that's what the volume is, and it says the machine transports the water at a rate of 20 meters cubed per minute. So in 1 minute it's going to be 20, in 2 minutes 40. The other way of working this out, or the other way of thinking about this, is how many 20s are there in 1,500? So we can say time equals, so this is how much it's got to fill, and this is how much it does per minute. So on the calculator, 1,500 divided by 20, which equals 75 minutes. So it's going to take 75 minutes to fill the pool. In this question we're asked to compare two banks, and normally when I'm asked to compare something I just put a line down the middle of the working out, and I put one of them on the left hand side and one of them on the right hand side, and as long as it's identifiable which one is on the left and which one's on the right, you don't need to necessarily put the whole name down, but you can do. So I'm going to start with a super bank. It says we have 2.3% for the first year and 1.8% for all other years, and we're doing this for 2 years at £300. So first of all I want to work out what the multiplier is. Since this is the calculator paper, we use the multiplier method. So we start off with 100% always, and compound interest means we're gaining money, so we're going to go up by 2.3%, so that means we'll have 102.3%. So as a multiplier, what we do is we just divide that percentage by 100 to get it as a decimal into what we call a multiplier, 1.023. So if I times 300 by that, that will tell me what we have after year 1. So let's do that on a calculator. 300 times 1.023. And you might need to press S to D. And that is £306.90. Okay, so that's year 1, and we might as well just write year 1 somewhere. Okay, so year 2, we've got that £306.90, and we need to work out the multiplier for 1.8. So I could go through the same method as before, but actually when you start using multipliers you realise how to just go straight there. So it's going to be 1.018. But you could do 100 plus 1.8 is 101.8, and then divide that by 100. And what's that going to be? So That equals came out a bit wrong. So what's that going to be? So 306 and times 1.018. And that says it's £312. And I'm going to round this to 42. I'm going to round it to the nearest penny. Okay, so that is Superbank. That's how much we'd get. Now, the Great Bank's a bit easier because it's just going to stay at 2.2. So let's work out as a multiplier. 100% plus 2.2% equals 102.2%. And then as a multiplier, that is 1.022 by dividing it by 100. So we're going to times that £300 by 1.022. So 300 times 1.022, and I get £306.60. Then I'm going to times that again by 1.022. So times 1.022, and this time I get 313.34. Ooh, actually, that would be 5 if I'm rounding it to the nearest penny. Okay, so it says, which account will give her the most money? Well, looking at that, it's going to be the Superbank. And when you're writing down an answer, make sure you write down the full name. Oh, it's not going to be Superbank, it's going to be the Great Bank. Look at that. So Great Bank Inc. And it says by how much. So I'm going to get that by how much. Let's show the examiner what I'm doing. So I'm going to do 313.35, take away 312.42. So 313.35, take away 312.42. And I get the answer of 93p. So £0.93. Now, if you hadn't have rounded both of those, you might get a slightly different answer. And actually, technically, you shouldn't have rounded them until you got the answer. But on a question like this, where you're rounding it to the actual money she would get, they wouldn't pay her half a penny, then either answer would be correct. And in this bit here, you could have done all of this just as one bit. You could have just written 300 times 1.022 times 1.022 or times 1.022 squared. That would be absolutely fine because you'll get the same answer. Okay, so we're asked to solve this inequality, and the difference is that there are 3 parts to it. And we solve it in the same way as an equation. However, instead of just having one set of lines, we're going to have 2 sets of lines, and whatever we do, we've got to do to all 3 sides. So looking in the middle, we need that middle to be x, so we've got 3 timesing by the x, and we've got to take away 5. So we've got to deal with that take away 5 first. We're going to add 5 to all 3 sides. So we're going to end up with 21 here, still got 3x there, and we're going to have 30 there. Now it's a 3x, so we're going to divide all 3 sides by 3 to get x on its own. So that's going to be 7, x, and 10. So my answer will be 7 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 10. Okay, so for this question we need to work out the length of the arc, which is around here. And then we need to work out what this and this are. So we're going to do arc first. I'm going to show the examiner that I'm doing the arc first. Now the distance of the arc is the total circumference of the circle times by the fraction of the circle we've got. So you want to work out what the fraction is of the circle and times it by the circumference of the circle. So to work out the fraction of the circle we've got, well, we've got 146 degrees and there are 360 degrees in total in a circle. The formula for the circumference of the total circle is pi d, or 2 pi r. Well, here we've got a radius because it's halfway across the circle. If you imagine the whole circle looks something like that, then the 37 is the radius. So we need to first of all double the radius to get the diameter, and so we're going to do pi times 74, which is twice 37. Okay, so we type that all into our calculator, so I press the fraction button, 146 over 360 times pi times 74. And it gives me in terms of pi. I don't need it in terms of pi, I just need it as a decimal. So 94.2826 blah blah blah. Now that's for the arc length, but we also want to know what this distance here is. Well, we've already got that one. And what this distance here is. Well, they are both radiuses, or radii we call it. So that's also going to be 37 meters. So to work out the perimeter, I'm just going to get that 94.2826 blah blah blah, and I'm going to keep it in my calculator, and I'm going to add 37 and add another lot of 37. So add 37, add 37, and that gives me 168.2826 blah blah blah. Once it's two decimal places, so line goes down here and we've got 168.28. Now just be careful that you add on the extra bit. When it asks you for a perimeter, just make sure you've gone the total distance around the shape. Put a dot and just draw with your finger around the shape to make sure you've got all the distances. Okay, so to do this question, I'm going to start off with a number line. And I'm going to put the number given to us in the question in the middle, so 89.6. Now it says it's to the nearest tenth of a second, so what I want to do on the left hand side is put the next number down. So what could it have rounded to if it was slightly less? Well, the next one down would have been 89.5, and the next one up on the other side would have been 89.7. Now to find the bounds, we just find the halfway points. And this left hand one will be the lower bound, the right hand one will be the upper bound. So that's going to be 89.55 and 89.65. Now it says it wants it as an error interval and use t for the time. So we put t in the middle, then we put the greater than sign on the left hand side, and then just the normal inequality on the right hand side. Now these two signs here will always be the same, okay? So when you're asked to do an error interval, it's that way around. So we're going to do our 89.55 on the left hand side and 89.65 on the right hand side. Now the reason why the inequality has an equals underneath it on the left hand side is it can be 89.55 and still round to 89.6. The reason it doesn't have one on the right hand side is 89.65 would have rounded to 89.7. So if you just remember, the things in the blue circles are always that way, and the letter it asks you for, just put in the middle. If it doesn't ask you for a letter, you can just pick any letter you want. You can call it X or something. And then the lower bound is on the left hand side and the upper bound is on the right hand side, and the lower bound's always here and the upper bound's always here.
Well, I hope you found that video useful. If you did, please click like. If you want to see more from us, including the other two papers, please click subscribe. We've got loads and loads of stuff on the website on maths.com, which you can go to here, which is completely free. But if you feel you're quite far behind in the maths, or you're not happy with the grades you're getting on maths.com or other mock papers you have, you can try out our premium service, which is mathseffect.co.uk. With mathseffect.co.uk, it's a small monthly fee, and you can do an annual subscription, but if you only want to do it up until November, which makes sense, you can just pay per month. And what it does is it has the whole of the Maths GCSE as a journey, and you go through each topic, mastering it one topic at a time. A lot of the students I talk to say, I really don't know where to start. Like, I keep doing Pythagoras and trigonometry over and over again, and I don't really know what else I don't know. This is a service which just covers everything. It makes sure you master and you are an expert in every topic in maths. So it's worth checking out. Loads of people have joined already, and if you haven't joined, go to the website mathseffect.co.uk or click the link in the description. That will take you straight there and you can check it out. Otherwise, thank you very much. If you want to leave a comment down below of anything you want us to cover, because we're desperate to help anyone who's being caught up in this terrible situation, which is not ideal for anyone, but equally, like, we all understand why it's happened. But if I was having to resit or having to sit for the first time in November, I would feel exactly the same as you are probably feeling. So if you want to leave any comments down below, and we might release some videos just discussing options that you have open, or whatever it might be. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.